All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Greenlight Personal Training Fitness Business Podcast. Today, alongside my co-host Jeff Larf, we are lucky to have the Director of Branding for Greenlight Personal Training, someone that you guys haven't met yet, but we're excited to bring him on. This is Dave Bess. Dave, what's up, buddy? How are we?
What is going on, boys? It's about time
Welcome.
we all got together on this thing. I'm jacked up and excited.
I know. I think we're like 9 or 10 episodes in here, and we haven't had you on yet, which is shocking because you bring the party, you bring the life, and people love listening to your gospel. So, everyone that's listened to us before has heard Jeff and I's story probably 150 times over the course of 9 episodes, funnily enough.
Yep.
So why don't we just kind of bring it to you? You know, tell us a little bit about Dave, how you got started in the industry. And then, Cole's notes of how you got to where we are now.
Yeah, I think it starts with the girl. I think every good story, it starts with the girl. So I was dating a girl from Wisconsin. My dad was in a pretty rough car accident, like 2007, 2008. So I was working for Under Armour at the time in Wisconsin. I moved home, took care of the family farm. At the same time, I was dating this girl, and I knew it wasn't a good thing at the end of the day. So I was about 1 week from moving from Southeast Missouri back to Wisconsin. We already had a place picked out. She had a dog bowl with my dog. I have a Jack Russell named Owen. So customized dog bowl. So like 7 days from moving from Wisconsin. And I knew it wasn't right. And my best friend said, "Hey, do you want to move to Arizona?" I'm like, "Let's do it." I just followed my gut. So moved to Arizona, and that's how I started my personal training career. So moved to Arizona without any type of job. And I was like, I like getting buff. I like fitness. So that's how my personal training career started. So started that was like in 2010, 2011. I got into the industry. I rented space for about 4 years from one of the underground fitnesses, which connects with Scott Carpenter. And then the manager of the underground fitness moved out of town, and Scott's like, "Hey, you want to run the location?" And at that point in time, most people know as a independent personal trainer, you don't make any money. So I was broke, and I said, "Why not?" And so Scott and I kind of merged forces with underground. Guess 4 to 5 years, I ran that location, bought into another location with Scott, and then the pandemic hit, and we kind of all got joined forces, and we created Greenlight. So that's kind of the 10-year story in 2 minutes.
I don't know that I've heard that first part before, to be honest.
That was new to me. I like that. Yeah.
Interesting. I love it.
We could do a whole separate podcast on gigantic teddy bear, me surprising her at work, spiking a panic attack. Like, I have some stories from those years. So yeah, the story.
Stay
like the
tuned
butterfly
for part
effect.
2.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So let's rewind a little bit. So let's talk about your time kind of managing the underground. Describe to me what that job was like for you, like the type of people that you worked with, the type of impact that you were having. Like, did you have a lot of, job satisfaction with, the results you were getting for people? Talk to me a little bit about your experience there.
Yeah, like I love the title of this podcast where we're going into kind of the internal versus external. For years, and I remember this moment just so precisely. I did a bodybuilding show in I guess my first one was in 2014. Okay, so basically for the first 5 years with Underground, I viewed fitness as external. Like, it's all about what you see when you look in the mirror. And I remember this moment like it was yesterday. And I didn't know it at the time. Like, looking back, I was prepping for this bodybuilding show, got to probably 4% body fat. Okay. Shredded to a T, big old deltoids. And my bodybuilding coach had me work out at 2 a.m. the morning of the big show. And I remember this, I still have the photo, and I snapped the photo like right there. Like, I looked perfect. And I remember looking in the mirror and hating myself. Like, I didn't know that at the time when I snapped that photo, but looking back, how sad I was. And when you talked about impact, like, we had a really good culture at Underground, and we were giving great workouts, and we were there, great community, right? We were giving away, great macronutrient plans. But I viewed everything in the fitness space as external. I looked at success as, what do you see when you look in the mirror? So to answer your question, like we did a really good job of helping people lose some weight, and we helped people, tighten up, get stronger. We had a community where like my staff, we had the same staff for 6 years. So zero turnover. So we were doing a lot of the right things, but we weren't changing lives, like changing people from the inside out. We were helping people. I mean, we are just guilty, just like probably you guys with your CrossFit gyms. Like we were helping people lose weight, but that weight always seemed to sneak back on. And that's the reason that we're here today. We're really redefining what fitness is. It just isn't that external, what you see when you look in the mirror. So I remember that moment just so snapped the photo. It was 2 a.m. It was 2:30 a.m. I was in Miami, and looking back, I was like, man, I hate myself. So does that answer your question?
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. 100%. Like, so where did you go from there then? Like, what was it? That was obviously a turning point moment for you.
Yes.
I know that you're someone who invests a lot into yourself, like with mentors and different courses and groups and things like that. Was that kind of your moment where you started to look at, okay, I need some internal change, and this is the path that I'm going to go down?
Yeah. So late 2019, pandemic was 2020, right? I lose track of the years. Yeah. So late 2019, I'm going to recruit this guy for Greenlight. If Lynn Tring ever listens to the Greenlight podcast, you guys know who I'm talking about. If you guys don't know Lynn Tring, look at his old YouTube stuff. He's the freaking best in the industry. This son of a gun, I had no idea what like high ticket was, like online coaching. I was running a pretty successful location. I knew I knew there was something more out there, but this son of a gun, Lynn Tring, started speaking my language. And I watched I'd probably say 10 hours of his stuff late in 2019. And that's when I almost hit my breaking point, because at the same time, my wife was 7 months pregnant. So 7 months pregnant. My pain was I knew there was something bigger out there than just being a professional rep counter that helped people lose the same 10 pounds over and over. So I spent $10,000 to work with Lynn Tring in this, 60-day course. Day 30 into his program is when the pandemic hit. Okay. So then that sparked this other, like what we were doing, like with building funnels. Like I knew that wasn't the answer either. So I invested $10,000, worked with Lynn Tring. Then I spent another $30,000 to work with another coach. For anyone out there, high impact coaching, Xander Fryer. So I invested, right at probably $40,000 in that like 3 to 4 month span. And that's when I started, that kind of planted the seed of like, there's something more to fitness than just counting reps. There's something more to fitness than just counting reps. So that's where my wife and I, we created something called the potato physique. For any listeners out there, I love potatoes more than, it's like Greenlight, it's my family, and it's freaking potatoes. Best diet food in the entire world. So we wanted to create a movement behind potatoes. We wanted to teach people, specifically moms, they could eat carbs, aka potatoes, and lose weight. So that's when we started as kind of this online movement. And for any personal trainers listening out there that are thinking about transitioning online, it is a freaking dogfight. It is hard as hell to get leads. So driving to work, this is the Greenlight story. I'm driving to work. This was August-ish. Like I have the date written down. I wrote a piece of copy on it. But I'm driving to work. Carrie and I were building this little online movement on the side. I'm still managing the shop. Pandemic in Arizona, like people are still coming back to the gyms. It was slow. I had a consult that morning with this lady, Sherry. Okay. It's 4:47 a.m. I get stuck at a red light. Okay. And it was one of those red lights in Phoenix. I don't know if you guys have them in Toronto. It's 4:47. Why the hell is this red light like 14 minutes long? And that's when it hit me. I'm like, freaking everybody's living at a red light. Like what I'm doing is I need to help people live at green lights, right? And that was the moment that changed everything. I'm like, wait a second. People are coming to us in our brick and mortar with the same exact pain points as people in the online space. So we did not even have any type of offer, but I sat down with Sherry that morning. I listened to her story. I identified that she had far bigger reasons to join than just to losing a couple of pounds. And she spent $2,000 on a program that honestly we didn't even have. And that's when, Scott got involved and we started building, habit trackers and got with you guys, and you guys designed the perfect program on the back end. But that's how it all started. It happened at a red light. And I'm like, we need to teach people that you're going to hit red lights and that's fine, right? But keep on going, taking action, taking ownership, right? And change from the inside out. And in a lot of ways, that's how Greenlight was born. It was born at a red light at 4:47 a.m. in Phoenix in August during a pandemic. So that's how everything kind of came full circle.
I mean, it is such a powerful story. And it really did kind of propel everything for us moving forward anyways. And I think you kind of touched on it there, or at least the beginnings of it, but it brings us to like the sales process that we use at our Greenlight studios, and how, you know, from my experience in the fitness industry, and I'm sure the same can be true for Jeff, it's like, it's much more intensive, and it's like that for a reason. Can you kind of like give us your take and describe, you know, how would you describe the Greenlight sales process for a new client coming into our studio?
Yeah, I think it's the most powerful hour of their life. And I know that's extreme, but the way that we teach the sales process, and anyone that's running a Greenlight, and Jeff, you can speak to this, I don't give a crap whether they join the program or not, but just listening to their story. Like, everybody's got a story, and there's so much pain in the world. As we're recording this in 2023, there's so much pain, right? And like in fitness with Instagram and Facebook, it's just so wrong at so many levels. So it's our job as Greenlight salespeople to sit down with people and ask them questions and hear their story and coach them into taking action. And sometimes the action is saying, no, I'm not ready to take ownership of my life. But I think it's that valuable. It's like, you guys answer this question. Like, Dan, when is the last time someone looked you in the eyes and said, Dan, how are you doing, brother? When's the last time someone asked you that? Right? No one asked that. Especially like for these strangers that are coming in that want to lose 20 or 30 or 35 or 40 pounds. And they have friends, but their friends are always on TikTok and Instagram. And their significant other, like they're like, we're all like, we like, I'm guilty of it, even with my beautiful wife, Carrie. It's like, hey, babe, describe how your day was. So a lot of our sales process is just having a real conversation. And maybe it's the first real conversation that the end users had in maybe years, maybe decades, maybe even ever. So the sales process is, yeah, of course, we want to sell them into a program, you know, whether it's, you know, one of our higher ticket transformational programs, or maybe they're not ready to go all in and just do something like external, where, hey, let's focus on some simple habits and simple behaviors. Let's get the ball rolling. Like, yeah, it's our job to coach, but more importantly, it's our job just to make them feel heard. And if we can check off that box, like, we'll never have to worry about money ever again. So that's to the core. Like, Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong, like, that's the Greenlight sales process, is hearing people's story.
Well, and it's going above and beyond, and it's giving them the time and committing to them and investing in them before they pay us anything. I think that's one of the things that we do better than anybody in the game, is that, well, listen, we care. We actually care, and we put our money where our mouth is, and we're going to give you an hour and a half, 90 minutes, almost 90 minutes of time before we even ask you to sign up for the program. And I think it's in that building of that trust that really the magic happens. And yeah, you sit across from somebody, and the first 15 minutes you're kind of getting going, and then all of a sudden a dam breaks, and they're telling, you know how many times somebody sat across from me and said, I haven't told anybody this ever. And I just met them, the first time we've ever met. I'm getting kind of goosebumps thinking about a couple of the situations that have happened. And you're like, yeah, I don't know why, but because I think we invest in them, and we build that trust, and we look them in the eyes and listen, they're willing to be honest with us. And I think that is something very, very powerful, and it's at a level that's not being done right now, and it's something that I'm very proud of.
Yeah, Yeah, jump in there.
Can I just send one more like Epiphany Bridge story, guys? I don't think I've ever told you this one. So imagine Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, but imagine like a softer version of Dwayne Johnson. Imagine a cop, and he's 300 pounds, but it wasn't 300 pounds of muscle. Okay, I put this guy Carlos through the sales process. He looks just like freaking Dwayne Johnson. So ended up, he signed up for the program, and he was taking care of his sick brother for like 4 to 5 years. So like we pulled back several layers of the onion. We ended up like hugging after the consult. Everything changed for me week 3 into his program. Everything changed. So this is post-sales cycle, but I truly understood what we're selling this moment right here. It was a Friday. You guys know I'm a bodybuilder at heart. Like the workouts I give probably aren't that great. It was a bicep tricep routine. So as functional guys like you guys probably aren't doing a ton of bicep tricep. So it was three of the guys. It was Paulie B was in, Thunder Dan was in, and Carlos. So we smashed arms just an hour. I remember this day like it was yesterday. And after the workout, Carlos was he was hanging around. And keep in mind, this is the most masculine cop in the entire world. Okay. He came up to me after the bicep tricep routine, after the other guys left, and immediately broke down. I get emotional. He started crying and he hugged me and he said, "Dude, you saved me." And that's when I knew. I'm like, holy shit, we're not selling fitness here. What we're selling is that. In just that moment right there, it changed the way that I viewed every single part of the sales process.
So it's a very, very emotional and powerful story. But one thing that I take out of it is that's not what we're selling, but people are coming to us maybe not for that specific reason. You get what I'm saying here? It's like we are a personal
100%.
training studio at Greenlight, or any personal trainer or fitness professional out there. It's people don't wake up, consumers don't wake up on a particular morning and say, okay, I want to drastically kind of change my life and my habits and, really find that internal struggle and battle through it. I'm going to seek out a personal trainer. That's not what they say to themselves.
No.
So ultimately what we do have is we have people coming to us as leads, like any other gym in the business. And these people are just looking, hey, I need to change some weight. I'm not very happy with myself. But we bring them into this sales process and completely kind of transform their way of thinking or their reason, almost their reason for being, or uncover the real reason that they're there. Can you talk a little bit about how we do that?
Yeah, absolutely. So here's the part that sucks. I thought we could market this. I thought we could market Carlos's story, like Carlos and Dave hugging and crying, Kleenexes, come in, change your life. It doesn't work. It just doesn't. Like, people come to us for weight loss. But here's the one thing that I know in my core. The story is there. 100% of the time, the story is there. There's some real pain there. And this is what I love about our process. Sometimes they're not willing to take ownership of that pain day one. So we'll take them through the same sales process. And we'll poke and we'll prod and we'll peel back some layers of the onion. When we first started this, especially at our first brick and mortar location, I was all in transformation. It was transformation or bust. Now I'm to a point, like I call it the 7 out of 10 rule. And Jeff, I'm going to drop some sales knowledge today. So if you can identify on a 7, 8, a 9, or a 10, that underlining why, where you're getting them to take ownership. They're talking about their pain or they're talking about their gain, then they're perfect for a transformational program. They will spend thousands and thousands of dollars initially on a 9 or 13-week program. Mm-hmm. Sometimes that's not the case, right? They don't know us from Adam. They've clicked on 6-week challenge ads before. Like, they're not going to be open to just opening it up and saying, let's do this. That's why we have our first gear program. So our first gear program, and I believe, like, I'm just as passionate about that program, which is more of a external driven program, than I am the internal program. Why? Because it's a hell of a first start. It's a hell of a first step, right? Mm-hmm. It's not the step I want people taking. Like, I want people taking ownership and action of the 165 hours there aren't with us. But with our first gear programming, identifying, hey, you're in a little bit of pain. We have this mentorship program. Right now, I don't feel it's the best fit for you. So what I want to do is I want to focus on this. And what do we do in our first gear program? We assign some basic foundational habits. We over-deliver with the accountability, and they're still getting those world-class personalized workouts in the overlapping PT setting. So it's like we cut the line down the middle for someone that's in pain that says, yes, I know I just met you, but like you said, Marcy, the people that give you goosebumps, those people are going to invest thousands of dollars up front initially. Then for everybody else, from a business angle, like our first gear, we can still make a really, really good club with a lot of first gear people. And more importantly, it keeps them in our garden to eventually have that moment to where they want something more. And then we present them with the opportunity to work with us on a more intimate level. So it's the ultimate 1-2 punch. It's, hey, you're not ready for this, so you're here for a reason. Let's start here. Or you're here for a reason that I don't think you had any clue that you were here for. Let's go for the entire enchilada. So That's the way that I view our sales process in a very simple terms. It's like, is it 7 and under? You're going to do first gear. If it's 7 and above, let's clock in and let's go for the full thing.
Yeah, it's super interesting because, I mean, the entire fitness industry, it seems like, is based off of, external goals, external wins for clients. And it's just a different approach to helping people. I mean, the one challenge that, we run into is the ability to kind of measure. External goals in general, yes. Those can be measured. You jump on that in-body machine, you're able to lift such and such weight, your certain pant size, all of those certain things, those are kind of easy to measure, and they're, in general, they are achievable by steps. You take on this diet plan, you do this many days a week training, you burn this many calories a day, you take this many steps a day. But internal change is not like that. It's a up and down kind of roller coaster of, emotions and just sort of, you talk about green lights, internal change, you're running into red lights all the time, right?
Yes. Every day.
And might be screeching halts on red lights sometimes. So, when you bring someone, you identify an internal pain point, in the sales process, how do we convert that into, okay, these are the steps that we're going to take in order to help you overcome this internal problem?
That's a great question.
You get what I'm asking?
Great question. Oh, yeah, absolutely. So my favorite part of the sales process, there's a lot of favorite parts of the sales process. One of my favorite parts is right at the end, like big picture wise, we talk about where they're at now, the pain, the hell, however you want to describe it. And then we shift to the heaven, right, where they want to go. So perfect example. I signed up a couple for the mentorship program a couple years back, Joel and Becky, okay? At the very end of the hell, right, I asked them to label their life in one word, okay? Very important. What they labeled their life at, I don't know if I can curse on here, but it was dog shit. Like, that's what they said, like verbatim.
Oh, wow.
It was dog shit, right? And then as we built up this, and this is one of the only couples that joined together and actually did the program together, where they defined themselves into heaven, the American dream. That's verbatim, the American dream, okay? So as part of the process, we built the habits and we built some routines, and they wanted both lose weight. Becky ended up losing, I think, 20 to 25 pounds. Joel lost 20. So combined, they lost 50 pounds. But at the end of our mentoring calls, how did we end it? Every single time on a scale of 1 to 10, how are you guys living the American dream? So labeling that the hell and labeling the heaven, and every single time you talk with them, you take ownership of the external things. Are we losing weight? We all want to look better, right? That's a big part of the program. But if you can just have someone label where they want to go or the position that they were in to begin, and are they improving on that journey, right? And if you can just have it at the end on a scale of 1 to 10, and if it's a mom that hasn't prioritized herself in years, right? It's a very common bleeding neck issue. One of my biggest pain points was having a mom that raised me that never prioritized herself. She put me and my brother first, and now she's at a position where she's getting a little bit older, and she's not in the best of health. So I understand that pain point. And I understand a lot of moms are going to go through the program and they're going to want to lose weight. But if you can have them define early on, I call it that North Star, the real reason they came to see us. And a lot of times I want to make myself a priority. So as long as you're having that conversation, every single conversation with them, then if they have a week or 2 weeks where they hit some red lights and they do a little bit of emotional eating, it's not the big thing, because we're asking them at the end of every single call on a scale of 1 to 10, where's your priority meter? I guarantee I've done this probably about 200 people through the program. As long as we're defining that early on and we're having that conversation every single week, it's no big deal if they go a week or 2 weeks without losing weight, because you've helped them define early on in the process their North Star, the real reason they wanted to change.
Right. So on that note then, if you were to give advice, and Jeff, jump in here too, because you do a lot of in-studio sales. If you were to give advice to personal trainers out there on when they're taking a potential client through one of their sales consultations, what are some of the biggest kind of tips or keys to help them dig down and uncover that leads potential internal struggle?
Yeah. I learned this from one of my sales mentor. I was with Mr. Joe Marcoux for over a year and a half, every single Friday. And my biggest golden nugget, he introduced me to this method called the TED method. Okay. So this is all you have to do as a personal trainer, and you will 10x your freaking income. You will 10x it. Start off questions with tell me, explain to me, describe to me. So a simple one like, hey, Dan, how are you doing? Right? I'm doing pretty good.
Good.
That's a lot better than like not having the conversation. But I'm like, Dan, describe your day, brother. Describe how you're feeling today. So you can use these same tactics in all aspects. I'm like, I use it on Carrie all the time, and she's like, quit Marcouing me. Right? So like, hey babe, how was your day? It's like, hey babe, tell me about your day, right? So just changing the way that you ask questions, I would say, is the number one tip that a trainer can do, and then continue asking those questions. And it's that onion analogy. You'll continue to pull back the layers of the onion till you figure out like, hey, there's some real meat here. So just little things like, instead of saying like, hey, how are you doing? Describe how you're doing. Tell me how you're doing. Or with a weight loss one, right? It's like how long have you struggled with it? That's a good question, right? Like, tell me how you feel. Like, describe to me your frustration of losing this same 10 pounds over and over again. So instead of like, how many times have you lost it 10 pounds? Well, I've lost it about 17 times. Okay, well, describe how that makes you feel. Just that right there, all of a sudden, then they start talking about their son, right? Maybe it's a dad. They start, I just don't feel like I'm the best, dad. All of a sudden, now we're getting into the meat. What started off as a weight loss conversation, now we're talking about their son. So, like, tell me, is this impacting your relationship with your son? Yeah. Describe how that makes you feel. Then all of a sudden, a dad came in for weight loss, but asking the right questions, you have to find that what the weight represents is he's not living his best life as a dad. Then over the course of 9 weeks, can we put together a plan to where we help you lose weight, but you wake up every single day with perfect purpose, and you're present with your family, you're present with your son. All of a sudden, that's a $3,000 program instead of a $250 program.
That is, I really like that, because I think a lot of the times, trainers will sit down in a consultation with all the right intentions, and they want to dig deep and they want to peel back the onion, but they ask the question and then it stops because they don't get like an answer back that's enough for them to actually keep moving. But that framework of TED actually gives probes for the salesperson to just keep digging. Then you explain to me, describe to me. It's perfect. I love that.
Yeah,
I love that.
And it's just like everything. It takes reps, right? So like with the Greenlight, we're in charge of our sales call. Larcy loves our freaking sales call training that we do. So like,
we 30 minutes
live reps with this. So like I was on a call the other day, and one of the girls, I had her like go at me. Like right now, I want to lose about 12 to 15 pounds. So it's like a real life example, like post bodybuilding show that I did like 6 months ago. I'm eating way too many Thin Mint cookies, so like I'm not exactly where I want to be. So like we're doing this live rep, and she kind of touched on it about. She's like, how are you feeling, right? And I'm like, I'm not feeling great. Then she stopped there. So that's when I said, okay, time out. Now describe how you're feeling, Dave. Like you shower it up, you just had dinner, you shower up, you get out, you look in the mirror, describe how you feel. So see how that is like, I just don't feel great. Taking that and then hitting it with a tell me, explain to me, describe to me, all of a sudden I'm like, well, man, I'm looking at that midsection and I'm just a little bit defeated because I know I should be doing the right things. Now we're getting somewhere.
I mean, there's no better advice than that, I think. So, client struggles, we went over them, the internal, the external kind of, solutions that we provide. Yes, most clients come to us, or maybe all, with external goals. Yeah, all come with external goals. And it's our job at Greenlight, or as a personal trainer, to kind of dig down to see if there's that internal struggle that they have. And that's really the catalyst to move into more of the higher ticket, more holistic style of program that we offer at Greenlight. So, Dave, what do you see as the future of this? Because this type of, I don't want to say high ticket, but the more holistic nature of service offering from trainers and health and wellness coaches in the industry has really started to evolve. The way that I describe it now when we look at the landscape is these big box gyms are cheaper than ever. Right.
Yes.
And so they make access to, working out very, very easy for people. And if the consumer's mindset is, to get in shape, I need to go to the gym. Yes. Well, it's really easy now for them to go to the gym for super cheap. And what that does for the trainers is it starts putting them out of business, or makes it very, very challenging to compete unless they're equipped with not only knowing how to prospect, how to sell, but also how to deliver a service that's going to be, 3,000 times more valuable than someone going to run on a treadmill at Planet Fitness. So that change is starting to happen. I mean, there is that massive divide now, but where do you kind of see this going in the future in the industry?
Yeah, I know it's kind of corny, but it has to be the future. The industry is broken right now, right? I've lived this story. I'm sure you're like, it's not about what you see when you look in the mirror. It's not. Like, there's so many people with so much pain out there, and they look at fitness as what they see on Instagram or TikTok and Facebook of, hey, I'm going to do this and I'm going to be happy because I'm going to look in the mirror and like it. That's not what it is. It's our job. And I know this at Greenlight and for other trainers out there and gym owners, right? Is if we can help people live their best life by focusing on their health and fitness, then we can redefine it. So that's the mission that we're on. It's like we have to redefine it, because you're right. Every passing year, there's more and more external solutions out there, right? There's more and more diets and online coaches. It's our obligation. But that's the way I look at it every morning when I wake up. Like, we have to redefine it, because I know, right? And you guys know, like, when we prioritize our health and fitness and we're eating real food and I'm moving and I'm doing my daily walks, hitting my, my tonal workouts a couple times a week, what happens? It allows me to freaking lay the boom on these opportunities where I get to talk with you. It allows me to be present with Braxton and be functional and throw him up in the air. And it allows me to be present in a relationship with my wife and my friends. Like, that's what freaking fitness is. And that's what it's our obligation to redefine that for every person in the world. It's not about just what you see when you look in the mirror. It's looking in the mirror and feeling happy with yourself.
I'd say it's not even just our obligation; it's actually our mission. Yep. And with it, there are major barriers for us along the way. I mean, this is an education process now. It's not just throwing up, a fancy workout and a bunch of marketing and trying to get people to come in and just sweat, right? This is an education kind of war that we're now involved in, and as we try to kind of change the fitness industry with our Greenlight movement. I think that's it. I'm going to kind of end it there. We like to keep these kind of short. Jeff, you got anything to add?
No, I just really appreciated hearing your story, Dave. It was inspiring and eye-opening, to say the least. I love our conversations, those 30 minutes every week on the sales. Actually, you know what? I am going to ask one last question. Is somebody listening to this, they're in the fitness industry, they're loving the game, they're somewhere along their journey, and they're like, okay, these guys have been in the game for a really long time. It's easy for them to say that they can sell this stuff. Is this teachable? Is this something that they can learn?
Oh yeah, that's what I was put on this earth to do. Like, it's my job to teach other people this. And if it's a brand new trainer for it's 20 to 22 years old, I wish I would have had this as early on. It's very, very teachable. And I think we're mastering it, to be quite frank with you. Like, every single part of the process, from how to handle the discovery process to how to handle every single part of the consult process, right? Utilizing TED to pull out the pain points, build the heavens. Like, how long have we been practicing our pitch, right? Because you're right, it's really hard to properly tell the end user what this is, right? So it's 100% teachable. And that's like what my job with Greenlight is mastering this process to where we can teach it to other passionate personal trainers that want to make a real impact on the world. So 100%. You could be a new personal trainer. You could be in here 5 to 10 years. The only prereq is you have to have that mission that I really want to impact the world through fitness.
Gorgeous.
Beautiful. we'll end it there. So for those listening, I'm going to put all of Dave's information, how you can follow him, in the show notes. Other than that, thanks, gentlemen, and we'll see you guys soon.
Great having you, Dave.